All right, so ready to ditch the textbook and unlock the secret to speaking English like a native. We're talking ditching the classroom and diving into practical tips you can use today.
Absolutely.
We dug deep into daily English practice, speak like a native, and honestly, it's packed with aha moments.
What I find fascinating is how this resource emphasizes rewiring your brain to think in English, not just memorizing a bunch of vocab.
Okay, that sounds intense, like
Yeah.
brain surgery for language, but where do we even begin with rewiring our
Well, it
brains?
all starts with consistency and integrating English into your everyday life.
You mean like how I start my day can actually impact how well I speak English?
Yeah, think about it. Your brain is most receptive to new information and patterns early in the day. The book suggests this simple morning makeover where you narrate your routine in English, like,
Okay.
I'm making coffee, or the smell is amazing. Simple, right?
I guess that makes sense, but isn't that a bit, well, awkward, talking to myself while I'm barely awake?
It might feel strange at first, but it's like building a mental muscle, you know? You're forcing your brain to engage with English from the moment you wake up.
So like preheating the oven for all the delicious language I'll be baking throughout the day?
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Okay, I'm kind of into this baking analogy. So narrate my actions check.
Yeah.
What else can I sprinkle into this English morning routine recipe?
The source also recommends incorporating some passive listening.
Oh, like how?
Put on an English podcast while you're getting ready or listen to the news. You'd be amazed at how much your brain absorbs even when you're not actively focusing on every word.
So basically surround myself with English. That's doable, but is that really enough to start thinking in English?
It's a fantastic starting point, but here's where it gets even more interesting. The book encourages us to talk to ourselves throughout a day.
Hold up, now you're really messing with me.
Hmm.
Talking to myself in English all day. Won't people think I've gone completely bonkers?
Haha. Think of it as mental weightlifting for your English skills. Narrate your actions, comment on your surroundings, anything that keeps your inner monologue flowing in English. It's like having a personal language coach whispering in your ear all day long.
Okay, secret mission accepted. But what about situations where I actually need to, talk to other human beings in English, like ordering a coffee or asking for directions?
Yeah, those real-world interactions are crucial, and this book provides a great stepping stone coffee shop role play.
We're like pretending I'm in a coffee shop. Don't I do enough of that in my daydreams already?
Haha. It's about practicing common phrases and building confidence in a safe space.
Gotcha.
Imagine yourself at your favorite cafe. How would you order your drink? What questions would you ask?
So instead of just daydreaming about that perfect latte, I'm actually practicing how to order it. Well, that's actually kind of brilliant.
Mm.
I'm much less likely to make a fool of myself at a real coffee shop if I've mentally rehearsed it 100 times right.
Exactly.
And speaking of making a fool of myself,
Oh no, don't tell me you have a story about me embarrassing myself in a foreign country.
no, not this time.
But the book reminds us that mistakes are inevitable. Even native speakers slip up sometimes.
True, true. But how do I get past that fear of messing up? Especially when I'm actually trying to speak to someone.
The source suggests a technique called shadow speaking to build confidence and improve pronunciation.
Shadow speaking. Sounds a bit spooky.
Yeah.
Is this where I follow a native speaker around and mimic everything they say?
Not quite. It's about finding a short audio clip in English, pausing after each sentence, and repeating it exactly how you hear it. Mimic the intonation, the rhythm, everything.
Ah, so it's more like channeling a master actor than stalking someone on the street.
Precisely. By imitating skilled speakers, you're essentially absorbing their mastery of pronunciation. It's like downloading their fluency directly into your brain.
Okay, now that's an image I can get behind. Downloading Fluency. I'm in. So we've got the morning routine makeover, this secret agent self-talk coffee shop role play, and now shadow speaking. What else does this book have in store for our aspiring English speaker?
Well, I'm sure our listeners are ready to put all this into practice and face the real world.
You're right. I bet they're itching to get out there and have some real conversations. But what if they stumble? What if they freeze up?
That's where real-world missions come in. The book encourages small, manageable interactions like ordering food or asking for directions to build confidence.
It's like leveling up in a video game. Start with the easier quests and work your way up to the boss battles right. But what about those of us who need a little extra support? Like a trusty sidekick for our language learning adventures.
Well, the source has a solution for that too. Language exchange apps.
Ah, so we're not alone on this quest. Tell me more.
Apps like HelloTalk connect you with other learners or even native speakers who want to practice. You can chat exchange voice messages, even have video calls. It's like having a built-in accountability buddy for your language journey.
Okay, that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
I'm all about having a support system when tackling something challenging.
Mm.
But let's be real, even with all this practice and support, we're bound to make mistakes. How do we deal with those inevitable slip-ups?
That's where the book's emphasis on self-reflection comes in. Instead of beating yourself up over mistakes, view them as valuable feedback.
But how do we actually turn those mistakes into something useful?
One incredibly powerful technique the book recommends is recording yourself speaking English.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me to listen to my own voice speaking another language? That sounds like a recipe for cringing?
I know it can be a little daunting at first, but trust me, it's incredibly valuable. By listening to yourself objectively, you become aware of pronunciation patterns or grammatical errors you might not even notice otherwise.
So it's like having an instant replay of my language skills. I can analyze my performance and pinpoint areas for improvement.
Exactly. And the beauty is you can do this in the privacy of your own home. No judgment, just pure self-improvement.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light here. Recording myself is like having a personal language coach without the hefty price tag.
And to round out our day in the life of an English learner, the source recommends ending the day with a little journaling in English.
Journaling, isn't that a bit old school?
It might seem simple, but there's power in putting your thoughts down on paper. It forces you to actively construct sentences and grapple with vocabulary. Plus, it's a fantastic way to track your progress over time.
So it's not just about writing down what I had for dinner. It's about actively flexing my English muscles one last time before I hit the pillow.
Precisely. The source emphasizes reflecting on your day. What went well? What challenges did you face? Celebrating small wins and identifying areas for improvement is key to staying motivated.
You know what? I'm really digging how this book breaks down fluency into manageable chunks. It's not just about memorizing endless grammar rules. It's about weaving English into the fabric of our lives.
And that brings us to one of the most exciting aspects of sounding like a native speaker, mastering those quirky expressions we call idioms.
Oh, yes. Idioms. I've always been fascinated by them. They add so much color and personality to language.
They do, don't they? And they often reveal a lot about the culture and history of a language.
Okay, so spill the beans. What's the secret to cracking the code of idioms?
Well, the book emphasizes that you don't need to memorize every idiom in the dictionary. Start by choosing a few common ones that resonate with you. Imagine you're trying to explain that you understand something perfectly. Instead of saying, I understand, you could say, I get the picture.
I get the picture. I love it. It's so much more vivid and engaging than just saying, I understand. So it's about finding those little gems that spark joy and incorporating them into my everyday conversations.
Exactly. And the more you use them, the more natural they'll become. You'll be surprised how quickly you start thinking in idioms.
All right. I'm officially on a mission to sprinkle those idiomatic gems into my English.
That's the spirit. And as we delve deeper into the book, we'll uncover even more secrets to unlocking your inner English speaker.
I'm already hooked. Can't wait to see what other treasures this book has in store for us. And for our listener, of course.
Speaking of our listener, we hope you're feeling inspired to embark on your own English-speaking adventure.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll unlock even more secrets to achieving native-like fluency.
Welcome back to our deep dive into speaking English like a native.
I'm especially curious about this whole recording yourself speaking English thing.
Yeah.
It still makes me a bit squeamish, but I'm willing to give it a shot if it really helps.
Oh, it's a game changer, trust me. It's like having a personal language coach who doesn't judge your every fumble.
Okay, maybe I'm overthinking this.
Yeah.
But what am I even supposed to listen for when I play back these recordings?
Think of it as an audit of your English. First, focus on pronunciation. Are you stressing the right syllables? Are there sounds you're consistently mispronouncing?
Hmm.
Then listen to your intonation. Does it sound natural and expressive or a bit robotic?
Ah, intonation. That's something I've always struggled with. It feels like a secret code that native speakers just instinctively know.
It can seem that way, but it's a code we can crack. The book explains how intonation adds layers of meaning and emotion to our words.
Okay.
For example, think about the phrase, "That's interesting." Said with a flat tone, it might sound sarcastic or dismissive. But with a genuine, curious intonation, it becomes an invitation for further discussion.
Wow, you're right. It's like the difference between reading a script and actually having a conversation. So how can we train our ears to pick up on these subtle but important nuances?
Mimicry is your secret weapon. Choose a speaker you admire, maybe a podcast host, an actor, or a character from a TV show,
Okay.
and really pay attention to how they use intonation Then try to imitate their patterns.
So it's kind of like when I was a kid and I tried to copy the voices of my favorite cartoon characters.
Exactly. It's all about training your ear and your voice to work in harmony. And speaking of sounding more natural,
Let's talk about those pesky filler words again.
hmm,
I'm still a bit conflicted about them. On the one hand, I want to sound polished and professional. On the other hand, I don't want to sound like a robot.
the book actually dives into this. Filler words like, or, get a bad rap, but they serve an important purpose in natural speech.
But aren't they just crutches? Signs that we're not fluent enough to express ourselves smoothly.
Not necessarily. Think about it. Even native speakers use them all the time. Filler words give us a moment to gather our thoughts, to connect ideas, and to add a touch of informality to our speech.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. So it's not about eliminating them completely, it's about using them strategically.
Precisely. The key is finding the right balance. Listen to how native speakers use filler words in different contexts. Formal presentations, casual conversations, interviews, and try to emulate their style.
Okay, so filler words, not the enemy. But let's shift gears a bit. I'm curious to hear more about idioms. We touched on them briefly, but I'm ready to dive deeper into this rabbit hole of quirky expressions.
Idioms are like the spice rack of language. They add flavor and personality to your English.
Right.
But as the book points out, mastering them requires more than just memorizing a list.
So it's not enough to just know what kick the bucket means. I also need to understand when and how to use it naturally.
Exactly. Idioms often have cultural and historical roots that inform their meaning. The more you understand these nuances, the more effectively you can use them.
So it's like learning a secret language within a language. But with so many idioms out there, where do we even begin?
The book suggests starting with idioms related to your interests. Are you a foodie?
I do love to eat.
Then explore expressions like spill the beans or have a sweet tooth. Are you a sports fan? Master idioms like drop the ball or hit a home run.
That's a great tip. It makes learning idioms less daunting and more fun. It's like I'm curating my own personal collection of these linguistic gems.
And don't be afraid to experiment. Trying out new idioms in conversation is the best way to see if they fit your style and to make them truly your own.
All right, I'm feeling bolder already. But, even with all these amazing tips,
Yeah.
I think the biggest hurdle for most language learners is staying motivated. How do we keep that fire burning when the going gets tough?
That's where the book's emphasis on consistency comes in. It's not about cramming in hours of study. It's about weaving English into the fabric of your daily life.
So small, consistent steps are more effective than sporadic bursts of intense effort. I can definitely get behind that. But how do we make English a natural part of our routine?
It can be as simple as changing the language settings on your phone to English, or watching movies and TV shows with subtitles.
Okay.
Even something as mundane as reading the news in English can make a huge difference.
Those are great ideas. It's like we're creating an English immersion experience without even leaving home. But what about those times when we hit a wall, when we feel like we're not making any progress?
The book reminds us that language learning is a journey, not a destination. There will be bumps along the road, but it's crucial to celebrate every milestone, no matter how small.
So acknowledge those small wins, like finally understanding that tricky grammar rule or having a short conversation without completely freezing up.
Exactly. Every step forward is a victory worth celebrating. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. Seek out online communities, language partners, or even just a friend who's also learning English. Sharing your struggles and triumphs can make the process much more enjoyable.
That's so true. Having a supportive community can make all the difference.
And as we move forward, I think it's essential to keep this overarching message from the book in mind.
Oh, what's that?
Language learning is not about achieving some mythical state of perfection. It's about expressing yourself authentically, connecting with others, and embracing the beautiful messiness of the process.
I love that. It takes the pressure off and reminds us to enjoy the ride.
Exactly. Now, shall we continue exploring the depths of this book and uncover even more treasures?
Lead the way. I'm eager to see what other secrets we unlock. And of course, we'll share those discoveries with our listener, who I'm sure is just as excited as we are to keep this language learning adventure going. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into speaking English like a native. We've uncovered so many practical tips, and I feel like my mindset has totally shifted.
Me too. And all this talk about idioms, intonation, even filler words, it has me thinking about something bigger that the source touches on.
Oh, what's that?
This idea of finding your own voice in English.
Finding my own voice. So it's not just about mimicking native speakers perfectly. It's about developing my own unique style.
Exactly. Even within a single language, there's so much diversity in how people express themselves.
Sure.
Different accents, different ways of phrasing things, different go-to expressions.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Like even in my native language, I have certain phrases I use all the time or ways of telling stories that are just, oh, me.
exactly. And as you become more comfortable with English, your own personality and way of thinking will naturally start to shine through.
But is this English voice something that just happens automatically, or is there anything I can do to, like, actively cultivate it?
It's a bit of both. The more you immerse yourself in the language, the more your own style will emerge naturally. But the source offers some great tips for accelerating the process.
Okay, I'm all ears.
First, diversify your input. Don't just stick to one type of English.
Mm.
Listen to podcasts with different accents, read books from various genres, watch movies and TV shows from different countries.
So it's like I'm building this rich tapestry of influences, drawing inspiration from all these different styles.
Exactly. The more you expose yourself to, the more you'll have to draw from when you're expressing yourself.
Makes sense. But that can feel overwhelming. How do I know where to start?
Follow your interests. Are you a history buff? Find documentaries or historical dramas and English love comedy. Explore stand-up specials or sitcoms. Let your passions guide your exploration.
I love that. It turns language learning into a fun adventure. But how do we actually start incorporating these different styles into our own speech?
Experiment. Don't be afraid to try out different expressions, play with slang to inject a bit of humor. See what feels natural and authentic to you.
It's like we're trying on different outfits until we find the one that fits just right.
Exactly. And remember, finding your voice is an ongoing journey. It will continue to evolve as you grow as a speaker.
So it's not about achieving some fixed, perfect voice. It's about embracing the process of discovery and letting my unique personality shine through.
Precisely. And that's what makes language learning so exciting. It's not just about mastering grammar rules, it's about using language as a tool for self-expression and connection.
It's like we're painting a self-portrait with words. And with each brushstroke, we're adding more detail, more depth, more of our true selves.
That's beautifully put. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listener with one final empowering thought.
Okay, I'm ready.
You already have everything you need to find your voice in English.
Really? How so?
Think about it. You already have a unique perspective, a distinct personality, a way of seeing the world that's entirely your own. All you need to do is learn how to express those things in a new language.
Wow, that's actually really inspiring. It shifts the focus from what we lack to what we already have.
And that shift in mindset can make all the difference. Instead of feeling like you're constantly striving to catch up to native speakers,
Yeah.
you can approach language learning with a sense of confidence and ownership.
It's like we're not trying to become someone else. We're simply learning how to be ourselves in a new language.
Precisely. And that's what makes this journey so rewarding.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from morning routines to mimicking native speakers to filler words to finding our own voice. What a journey it's been.
It really has. And I hope our listener is walking away feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to embark on their own English-speaking adventure.
Remember, fluency isn't about perfection. It's about confidence, connection, and the joy of expressing yourself in a new language.
So go out there, practice, experiment, embrace your mistakes, and most importantly, have fun.
We'll be here rooting for you every step of the way. Until next time, happy learning.